My name is Mari Swa. These are my ideas and thoughts. I'm not claiming that these are absolutes, much less imposing them on you as hard facts, as this subject is naturally imprecise. Everything is evolving, and so are our ideas. I'm only sharing them with you in case they are valuable for you in your process of understanding the evolution of your own awareness. Besides the word awareness, I also used awakening, because it is understood by most of you and the rest of the spiritual community, although, strictly speaking, no one is asleep to awaken from. Each person is at their own level of awareness and understanding, and no one is superior nor better than another, as each person is living their particular reality and soul experience. Always have in mind that good and evil, bad things and good things depend on the point of view of someone or some particular group of people, if it is hurting their interests or not, for example, and not as a universal hard truth. Perhaps with one exception, as I understand this to be, and it is the tendency to engage in self-destructive behavior, as many here argue is the best definition of universal evil, as its ramifications are huge. Having said this, some people can be better than others, or some people can be worse than others, according to one or another set of points of view and criteria, mostly the ones applicable to our everyday lives, where good and evil are quite well defined, and so are people who can be toxic or even evil to us. Awareness levels on Earth as I see them today, I will keep them simple this time, as I could well write a book for each one of them. The first level is that of the so-called matrixed person, level 1. These individuals live according to what society imposes on them as truths. They never question anything, or perhaps only to a very shallow degree, and involve the natural contradictions of the social norms they so vividly follow. Their truth and their values are the ones of society, and they follow them to the dot, including those which contradict each other, and they do so in an obsessive way, always thinking that as they follow social rules and norms, they are somehow superior to all other people who in their eyes do not comply with what authority has imposed onto them. As the old saying goes, they are only sinners criticizing other sinners for sinning differently. They believe the medical system is to keep them healthy, politics are real, and only have minor problems like, for example, corruption or cheating, problems which could be solved with the law, a law which is there to keep the peace and to protect the citizens. They work and do as they are told, and they pay their taxes thinking that that is how governments finance public projects such as roads, hospitals, and so on. They blindly believe in science as the ultimate tool to find absolute truth, even though it contradicts their beloved religions, and they do not question this contradiction even if it is in front of their eyes. Anything that has to do with extraterrestrials is either seen as something to laugh at, ludicrous and impossible, or whatever the government tells them, but quite irrelevant, and belonging to the entertainment industry. And anyone who does not agree with their points of view are only crazy conspiracy theorists and lunatics. Then there is the next level of consciousness awareness. Level 2. Here people start to realize that many things in the system, in society are not all right, and that there is much corruption everywhere as the main problem, which can still be solved by electing this or that good politician who promises to eradicate it. They start to suspect that some medicines are not good for them and that companies may be introducing poisons into their processed food on purpose, but can only explain this to the level of thinking it is only corruption and lack of ethics to be able to generate more profit and more money. They still believe in science, although they start to see its limitations, but they still relate those limitations with what can be explained with institutionalized religion. These individuals still blindly believe in governments and democratic elections, although they are starting to realize something is wrong with what they are told about how the world works. These people start to believe in the paranormal, in a light way, or so they say, and feel they are interesting to other people simply by sharing third-party ghost stories, although deep down they know they are skeptical. And so are they with anything that has to do with extraterrestrials, thinking that they are a good topic for a tea party conversation, but are still meaningless. These people have listened to a few dozen videos and read half a book about the paranormal, but they think they know it all, thinking that they are superior to other people simply because they know a little more. Spirituality for people at this level is the same as religion, with no difference, and awareness is achieved in school, especially in college. And for them, the word awakening, or to be awake, means that they know what political party is the best one, as well as what tendency is in the media, for example, feminism and patriarchy. They feel they are well informed, and on cutting edge with what is happening on Earth, and with what is correct, and socially acceptable. The next level of awareness is level 3. People at this level start to have a strong spiritual awareness arising, not to use the word awakening, and it is a drastic jump from the last 2 levels. They start to feel the strong need to seek answers that are out of the socially accepted norm, perhaps because they have suffered much during their lives, and they have realized that material things, money and objects do not breed happiness for them. Or perhaps because they cannot have those material possessions, they seek to fulfill their lives elsewhere, in spirituality and in the New Age movements. The problem with this level is that most people at it still believe in some kind of authority figure, so they tend to follow spiritual leaders and experts in extraterrestrials, who are socially accepted within their group, which acts mostly as if they were going against the so-called mainstream, giving them a facade, an illusion of fighting the system. People at this level are unaware that all those large and well-organized spiritual communities not only operate mostly for profit, but are also under the control and the payroll of intelligence agencies who use them to control the perception and the narrative of what is apparently against the system, leaving all those well-organized spiritual and UFO communities as only more tricky tools of the same system. They are simply controlled opposition. People at this level are already aware that governments are being controlled from behind by secret groups of people who are the ones with real power, but they fall easily for their controlled oppositions and organizations that pose to be working against them. They like to follow spiritual practices which are well known and accepted, so they need some kind of guru or leader to tell them which way to go and what to do. They still feel the human need to belong to a group, or to a community of people which is large and well accepted. They are at the level of starting to believe that they are starseeds, and they follow their fanaticized idea that they belong to one or another race just because it is in vogue or in fashion at the time. For example, the vast majority of people at this level on Earth think that they are either Pleiadian, Sirian, or Arcturian, leaving out all the innumerable other possible races, simply because those are nice and there are many New Age videos about them. Nevertheless, many are right, they do belong to those races. I'm not bashing anyone in particular, but bear in mind that we are all starseeds one way or another, and we have all been members of many races. We are all universal starseeds. People at this level can be very dangerous because they tend to think that they hold the ultimate truth about everything, especially about spirituality and extraterrestrials, and because they tend to overprotect the spiritual leaders, the groups of like-minded people, and the ideology that in their experience helped them a lot, as it gave them an identity and a sense of worth in a world who rejected them, or in which they did not feel they belonged to, as they could never adapt to it, as if anyone ever could. They attack other communities for thinking differently, and when neither can prove that they hold the ultimate truth. People at this level still think that extraterrestrials are one thing and humanity is another, all as they search for answers in those heavily controlled spiritual and UFO researcher communities. They still think that truth can be absolute when dealing with the paranormal in all its examples, and they follow whoever is controlling the narrative, blindly and mindlessly, while thinking that they are awakened and super smart. They also tend to want to awaken everyone around them, sometimes torturing their friends and family members with stories about starseeds and extraterrestrial races, as well as with spiritual concepts that those friends and family are simply not interested in. People at this level want to shout to everyone to awaken, to see the truth of how the world works, and to the extraterrestrial truth. They become extra communicative, and they suffer much when they see their friends and family are simply not interested in what they so desperately and so vividly want to talk about, so they end up feeling alone, ostracized and not understood once more. Many times they end in frustration and anger as they see no validation in what they now know, and full of resentment because their friends and family see them as a complete crazy nutcase. Level of awareness 4. People at this level realize that all those spiritual communities and groups of people who control the extraterrestrial narrative are all limited and as controlled as the official Matrix narrative is. They start to go through a second awakening, where they realize that they cannot follow any leader blindly, and that the only way to reach some degree of truth and meaning is to research everything on their own, listen to everyone, but follow no one blindly, having the fortitude for deciding what is real and what is not for themselves, as well as having to make up their minds about what to believe and what not to, what serves them and what does not, from their personal point of view and necessities. People at this level of awareness understand that the whole world is based on lies and who controls the narrative, and where basically nothing is real except for what they decide is, in a personal way. And they start to realize that the extraterrestrials they once sought for answers, and with whom they so strongly wished to contact before, are themselves. They realize that it is they who hold the ultimate answers from well inside and that there is no difference between extraterrestrials and themselves. Once they wished to see or to talk to an extraterrestrial, but now they know they are the extraterrestrial. They doubt and question everything official, knowing that it nearly always is a bunch of manipulative lies. They know the limits of science and know it is only a limited tool to make gadgets work within the material realms of existence, and can never explain what is really important. They have matured their spiritual process and path, so they deeply know that in the end, everything is just a game with no ultimate truths, and only for the experience it gives us to be alive. They understand that most people cannot comprehend their perception of reality, as they know that no person at a lower level of awareness can understand anyone above that level, as they see everyone below them as inferior and everyone above them as lunatics. But at this level, they know that there is much to learn above them, so they approach everything new with humble curiosity, and with no judgment. At this level, a person knows that they must adjust their behavior and what they say to the level of who they are talking to. They know that it is useless to try to convince anyone else of what they know, as they are aware that each person can only understand reality at their own level and never above it. People at this level choose to remain silent, not to share what they know about how reality works, so they are no longer interested in sharing their knowledge with people they see are not ready for it. They also know that sharing what they know and their plans will only hurt them, as the whole matrix system will work against them to do its best to level them with the average population again. They remain silent. People at this level know they are the extraterrestrials on Earth, and they know that their frequency, who they are, will take them back to their family sooner or later, in life or death, as death is nothing but an illusion, simply the end of one lower-level ego self, and not who we truly are. And they are fully aware that they are the creators and the manipulators of their reality. See you for more about this subject soon. Be very well and take care. With much love. Your friend, Mari Swa.